to see you. It's great to see so many colleagues that I have seen over the period of years and years on the screen. At least I can see their names, if not their faces. And thank you, Felix, for pulling this all together and inviting me to share a few thoughts. And I know, Ambassador, that time is very short. We're running. I'm going to be dispense with my comments that I had written, but rather focus something that I truly believe I need to say. After hearing all this conversation, my views might sound very heretical at this stage, but I think it's important that I should say things that I really feel and the world really faces. First off, we have 7 years to achieve SDGs and 2 years to bend the emission curve. When you look at this picture, I think the crisis is facing us very clearly. Not only that we are lagging in progress in achieving SDGs with all our effort, of course, there is needless to say that effort has not been done. Of course, effort has been done. But we have seen our own Secretary General mentioning that we are at a point of no return. These are his words. He has said the world is in peril. He has said that we will be doomed. This is where we stand. This is the moment of crisis actually that we are facing. And we should, any effort that we are going to create to actually jolt ourselves into action must stem from this moment of crisis that we are facing in implementing and turning the world towards sustainability or managing the crisis of climate change that we are facing. We talk about silos. I think many of us have been listening to this conversation since the beginning. They've been talking about silos. They've been talking about mandates. They've been talking about doing more. And we've been doing this talk more or less in every summit or every conversation that we've been doing. The progress has been there somewhat, but not to the level that we actually need. So we really need something different. We are not on track. The world is facing a crisis, and particularly the crisis is compounded by not only just the economic crisis that we are facing, but a political crisis that we are facing. And I wanted to echo the words of Professor Sachs that peace is a sine qua non for movement towards implementation of either the Sustainable Development Goals or managing the crisis in climate change. So primarily, let me start by saying, and I want to preface again my remarks by saying that I may be saying something that some of us may not like to hear. But in order to jolt ourselves into action, colleagues and Ambassador and Felix, we really need a different approach to our how and look at how countries have progressed. Can implementing or finding a funding mechanism or source or means of implementation would ever be sufficient to meet the implementation of 17 goals? I think it is time for us to think about some accelerator without discounting the importance of and integrity of the Sustainable Development Agenda, to which I want to say very clearly that being part of its creation, I hold it very dear. But we need to focus on where is it that the international community's effort should be focused on, which will lead result and lift all other goals. And that effort is not something that we don't know. Actually, we know it very clearly because every country that has developed has focused on 3 things, more or less, that exist in these goals, which is health, education, and social justice. And on the top of it, there is one more goal that we face the crisis on, which is the climate change. In my view, if we focus on creating, accelerating progress towards the implementation of these 4 elements within the goals, These goals have the capacity to lift progress on all other goals. They will galvanize those forces inside the countries, inside at the international community, to actually create a momentum towards implementation. Now, my final point, and I want to come back to the COP28 or COP27. COP27 has been a very difficult moment in our lives. I think being part of it was a unique experience to see how the world not only was divided, but still managed to come together in facing one of the crises that it had to deal with, which was loss and damage. But loss and damage alone, Ambassador and my colleagues, cannot be the panacea where solutions to climate change lies. If you look at adaptation funding or others, or let's take an example of Pakistan. We faced a recent floods. The total damages or loss of damage was $30 billion. Is there any international funding mechanism which can help boost that $30 billion of fund provided? No. We need an approach within the climate change as well. Besides, of course, propping up and making the best use of the funding mechanisms and of course, replenishing them, and of course, increasing means of implementation. Climate crises cannot be won without the help of the private sector or the people who are actually taking decisions about the economy. If there is one thing that COP28 can do, barring aside all those stock takes and mandates and resolutions that we can pass, is to fully integrate private sector in this conversation and find solutions that we can. I'm going to stop, Ambassador, here and colleagues, just finishing that I think we need accelerators which can lift other goals. And I think we need to change the climate change conversation. And if COP28 has to be a success, that success would measure on bringing those people inside the conversation who really matter and whose decisions change the economy. Thank you.